welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull, aka Elise. I think we've got an interesting stream prepared for today. We've got some new people in the chud-lib rotisserie to have a look at, and I think we're going to start out with one Ben Shapiro. Alpha male.
Consent is just a way.
Does it? The male apparently actually means once I get my camera reactivated. So, yes, okay, some next level information about what alpha male actually means.
Consent is just a way for you to avoid responsibility for your own bad activities.
What? Okay, we're getting off to a wonderful start here. Consent is just a way... so the idea is if you didn't... what the fuck?
Okay, folks, so there is a YouTube channel that is called Jubilee, and they host group debates, like pro versus anti-abortion, or trans men versus...
It actually sounds like a, annoying liberal sort of channel that might actually be worth checking out for the rotisserie. Making a note of that. Like, and what the hell's with the name Jubilee in this context?
versus actual men.
Yeah, fuck you, and this would be a good a moment to just, make a little content warning. There's probably gonna be some fucking transphobia in this. In fact, there just was.
On masculinity. They have like 8 million subscribers on YouTube. Well, today we're going to analyze one of their videos about alpha versus beta males.
So, okay, we're already getting off to a great start with this Jubilee plays if they're going to pretend that alpha and beta males are actually meaningful concepts.
This video is sponsored by our friends over at Provia.
Okay. Clip number 1.
Step.
Let's see. Oh, one second. This is not the best place to be having my camera feed, so I can't see chat. Hello, Phoenix. How you doing? Yes. I mean, well, he's got that really cool ass beard right there. I mean, he's just totally an alpha. He's an alpha chud. Chad, whatever.
Forward if you agree with the prompt. Men are designed to want to sleep with multiple women.
Yeah, I would say I definitely agree that men, want to sleep with multiple women. I think
that's not actually what the prompt was, though.
It's natural because one of the things is because we have so much sperm that we produce so much sperm, and that makes us want to repopulate.
This is probably... Somebody should be covering Ben's eyes. I mean, does he know about sperm? Has he been told about the birds and the bees yet?
The earth, basically. And so a lot of times what happens is I think that...
Yeah, I mean, it is literally something that came from studying only captive wolves, which is kind of fitting.
That society is telling men not to do that for whatever reason.
And, here's just an example. This doesn't get talked about a lot. Doesn't get talked about enough, but there's a lot of racism in film lighting. Like, I mean, they're basically making this guy invisible right here.
You know what I mean? And some guys fall into
because
that.
They haven't taken into account that people have different complexions, and if you're going to have a really dark fucking background, what the hell's with this lighting? It's like he's practically got no head.
That, men actually want to be with multiple women because it's just a natural thing in us. This is why you hear all the time, men always cheating and guys feel like they, trying to hide the cheating and everything like that. And if it was natural for them to just want to be with that one woman, then cheating wouldn't even be an issue. You know what I'm saying? So
okay. So, I think, does this guy, I'm guessing, there's no way this guy could possibly be single, is there?
That's all. Like, I feel like because that desire is there.
Yeah, to the extent that you can fucking see it, because they haven't lit this properly. They have I've never heard of Jubilee before. They have lit this for like 3 shades lighter at the very least, because actually light meters you know, when you look up like light meters that'll have a setting for like skin tone, the setting is for like light for white skin tones.
It's a natural thing for
And that's how you get this
specifically
lighting.
men. That desire to want to do it is natural in us, so then therefore you're going to want to do it. So I don't think it's a natural thing to just be with this one woman, but at the same time when I'm with this one woman, I only want to stay with her. It's almost like I'm
What's the dude on the left? It looks like it looks like the dude on the left of him is sniffing it.
lying to myself if I just want to be with her. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is an amazing transformation, right? So the original statement that men want to sleep with more than one woman, that's obviously true. I mean, that's just
Well, that wasn't the initial statement. Neither of you have accurately represented the initial. It was men are designed, whatever the fuck that means, to sleep with multiple women.
just basic evolutionary biology. It's true in the animal kingdom. It's true in males, in bonobos, and chimpanzees. And
Actually, bonobos made for life. The bonobos are not a really good example for this.
literally all of the closest animal relatives to Homo sapiens, that is true. That the males wish to procreate with multiple females. And that is not because of sperm count. That is because of testosterone, which is indeed linked to reproductive capacity. However, the shift from it is unnatural for a man to be monogamous to it is therefore good for a man to be non-monogamous.
Well, okay, so you're saying it is... Wait. So the idea is you're going to say that... this is really next level hypocrisy we're getting here. It is natural for men to want to fuck around, but somehow, despite the fact that it is supposedly biologically determined that that is what they're going to want to do, which is bullshit, but we're just accepting that it's still somehow not okay.
It's the thing that's kind of amazing. And it demonstrates the utility of civilization. Civilization takes that aggressive male sexual instinct and it channels it.
Wow. We're getting into Jesus Christ. Like, okay. And this is where he decides to bring up the utility of civilization. Never mind that lots of civilizations have been non-monogamous. Never mind that the civilization we're in right now only pretends to be monogamous in the first place, and everybody fucks around, except for the people who don't. Yeah, I mean that is like armpit hair growth. What he's got there. But he's got his cool ass bomber jacket here. Like, this is like what neo-Nazis in 1990s Germany would wear. I'm sure they'll take him along on a
toward one woman building a family. Right? That is actually what civilization is designed to do. It's why the
designed is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
institution of marriage is a good institution. But notice how that particular person shifts immediately.
That particular person, and
into authenticity. Well, it's not authentic then for me to be just with one woman. Who says that authenticity is supposed to be your moral standard?
well, I mean, people who think that honesty is a good thing, I think, probably tend to be pro-authenticity. But I mean, he's telling us about himself right now, and I'm there for it. Tell us about why you're not authentic, Ben, with your fucking bullshit beard.
Most of the things we rely upon in civilization are inherently inauthentic. That doesn't mean they're bad. They're actually quite good.
What the fuck does he mean by authentic,
How
then?
do you define... I guess before we get into this video, you can see how they, make these people into characters.
Yeah, even she is wondering what the fuck he's trying to say, what even he means by this nonsense.
It's alpha and beta males.
Alpha male wants to protect, defend, and provide for his wife and his children. And a beta male is a person who doesn't believe that they have the obligation to do those things, or authenticity calls them not to do those things.
So we're just gonna make shit up. Okay, that's what I was expecting on the Ben Shapiro show.
Or anything else. So I actually think that it's sort of a beta attitude to say that your authentic desire to do something means that it is a thing you ought to do.
Well, no, it's still, wait a second here. Because we still haven't actually defined what authentic means. He said a whole bunch of things we rely on are not authentic. And then we're just gonna skip over what that means.
Beta! Yeah, I agree. I think a man can absolutely be head over heels in love with a woman and still sleep with other women. And
Yeah, well, So what? And what's the idea here? I mean, women do that too, actually, you'll find. In fact, the guys who say shit like this often get really, really worked up when it turns out women also do that.
And not mean anything to him.
Right.
And I think all men have the proclivity to want to sleep with other women. Now,
You forgot to button. Do all men have the proclivity to forget to button their fucking shirts?
whether they're able to speak to that,
Like, where'd they
and
find
actually
this
act on
guy?
that or not, or if they've been able to, like you said, like religiously find a way to work around it. And I think religion has been great for that.
Work
because if
around
wasn't
it.
for religion, we probably would not have society. But I think what's most important to identify is that a man should create choice in his life. And if you have choice, you should be able to do as you wish, particularly.
Like, okay, this guy is just his whole thing is he talks fast. What he's saying makes no. So you create choice, and if you have choice, you should do whatever you want. The fuck does
Like
this
in your
mean?
case, like in my case, if there's no deceit.
Exactly.
It's the lying. That, in my opinion, is actually the overall problem.
No, that is not the overall problem. Again, what he said at the beginning there, that religion has created the structures that you actually need, and that's created civilization, that's true.
I would notice that actually quite a few religions are also polygamous.
But again, we keep coming back to the alpha male in modern society is still rooted in a fundamental.
Oh yeah, rooted is a good word in the Australian sense of the word. The guys who think that there's such a thing as an alpha male and try to take that as some kind of fucking ideal, they're rooted. In Australia, that means they're screwed.
Libertinism. Still rooted in the idea that the highest value is not duty to others, right? Duty to your wife, duty to your kids. That the highest duty is rooted in what's good for me. What is the thing I want to do? And if she can sense, and as long as I'm not lying, it's totally fine. Well, no, actually, you can do horrible things that other people consent to.
Well,
Consent is not the highest value.
what does that? Okay, where are we?
Consent is just a way for you to avoid responsibility for your own bad activities.
Well, except what makes them bad is the question you seem to be dodging.
Here's the beta.
I think it's a society thing. Like what you just said. Who's making them feel guilty about not
What the? Okay, what's this guy's deal?
doing it? Other men.
And are these like literally all people who identify themselves as alpha or beta? Like, who thought that it was a good idea to have a discussion that was made up of like these chuds and not like a couple of just like normal people who don't believe in this bullshit to sit there and look horrified?
The reason I think women and men. The question was, do you feel that men are meant to sleep with multiple women, or are they just, that's what they do? And I don't think that's true. I think it's a part of your character and which who you are. I do believe that if you're going to be honest with your partner and your partner is into it, but do I believe that we are biologically meant and it's in our head because we have to procreate and this? I don't believe that.
It's that meme. I consent. Ben Shapiro says I don't consent.
I believe the reason we do it a lot is because it's looked upon as a great thing for men to have multiple women.
This is so crazy.
Wow, somebody's discovered the free special video transitions that you can get by downloading them on YouTube.
So there are a couple things about this that are totally crazy. One, what he's saying about biology is just idiotic.
Well, I mean, we're entertaining the idea that there are alpha and beta males and that is an actual thing that exists. We're not. Were you really expecting a peer-reviewed lecture in biology?
Again, the idea that men are not pre-programmed to want to sleep with multiple women. But, and again, throughout the animal kingdom, it is the case. The man.
He couldn't even go through his list. The list he cherry-picked out of all the species that are out there. He couldn't even get through that list without coming up with a counterexample that he didn't know was a counterexample because he doesn't know.
Male of the species have a higher desire for sexual activity with multiple different partners.
Can I kiss you?
It's just
What? Okay, and that is evidence of what now? Apart from a very awkward case?
not true. This idea that everything is defined by societal whim. What's totally crazy about this is they end up agreeing on morality.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, when you're trying to pretend that that this is all just some sort of biological thing, and you come up with this pseudoscience that is specifically meant to justify reactionary attitudes about gender roles, why would you go to the length of making that bullshit up and then not exploit it in order to justify whatever you want?
This is how you know there are no actual alpha males in this conversation. Because if we end up agreeing on morality, which is whatever floats your boat, then there are no actual alpha males in the conversation. Whatever floats your boat is not morality, it's amorality. And
Like, he's never floated Abby's boat. That's how you know he's moral.
amorality is a form of immorality.
Shane totally. I have one son and two daughters, and I know the difference of how I felt when they were 15 or in their 20s, now they were 15 versus him having multiple partners or my daughter.
Well, let me ask you this, though, because you said you're bisexual, so that means you're attracted to men and women, right? So if you're with a woman, well, aren't you also attracted to men? So wouldn't you want a man?
The idea here is that if you are attracted to somebody, you absolutely have to fuck them?
And a woman?
No.
So you just like, I just want one and that's
I made a commitment. And it's not even like
but there's no urge to want
there's always
more?
urge.
That's what
That's what we're talking about. But that doesn't mean that I'm biologically.
Like, okay, I go into a pub, and these are the guys sitting around at the bar. I walk out of a pub. This is just because it's just going to be the most annoying fucking conversation, and I know I'm going to be just like fucking having to break fingers to get them off of my asses. Yes, my multiple asses.
I think men and women both have urges.
Fucking Miami Vice over here.
If it's not biologically inside of you.
I think the urge comes from, I don't think it's a biological thing. I think
temptation, not urge.
I think
But the urge creates temptation, no?
But is temptation bad? Like you say in a way that's kind of like temptation.
I don't think temptation's bad.
Yeah. My God.
It really pains him to hear this. They really should have told him about the birds and the bees before they let him watch this stuff.
Painful to watch. First of all, I love that the urges, where do they come from? Temptation. What makes it tempting? I don't know.
I don't even know. Like, I can't even tell you that.
And then they immediately go back to the parts where they agree, which is temptation bad? Well, I mean, if you fall prey to the temptation, then yes.
Well, surely it depends what you're being tempted to do. I'm tempted to have another piece of the utterly incredible chocolate cake that my sister baked me for my birthday expanded universe. I don't think that is an inherently bad thing, even if I do give in to it. Like, surely that we're just gonna pretend that these things can be discussed in the abstract.
Actually, this is what happens when you have a value-free system, and then what you basically have are people with high T and people with low T arguing with each other, but agreeing on the value system.
How about the idea they spoke about in one of the first clips about how a man can have sex with a woman and feel absolutely nothing, therefore it's not the same.
Yeah.
Wait, is he about...
So what he says there, right, so in that clip where he says a man can have sex with a woman and feel absolutely nothing?
Well, I mean, Ben Shapiro could have sex with a woman and she can feel absolutely nothing.
That is true. Okay, it's something that women fundamentally do not understand about men. And again, that goes back to the root biology, which is, it makes sense, right? If evolutionary biology is building women so that they have to be very selective about their sexual partners because they could get pregnant from that sexual partner, and then they're going to have a genetic offspring with that person, that means that
I mean, I love how you just get to sort of make this up as you go along.
you want to form an emotional connection that has a connection to sex.
I mean, it's Ben Shapiro, so of course you're going to talk about evolutionary biology, so naturally you don't have a single evolutionary biologist to explain it to you.
And that is going, because again, the result of that thing could be procreation with that person. So you'd want to have sex with a person who theoretically you could procreate with. The emotional attachments formed by women over sex are significantly higher than the emotional attachments formed by men with regard to sex. We'll get to more on this in a second first.
Wait, okay. He's just changed clothes on us.
Are you one of the millions of American men or women?
He's trying to be each of the new kids on the block. That's what these outfits are.
been dealing with premature hair thinning and hair loss, or maybe you're scared about inheriting that thinning look because it runs in the family. Well, Nason's Pearls and causes strengthen your hair follicles for men and 100% at Provia Hair. Now, don't wait.
Than dominating women.
Oh, hell yeah. You know.
Wow. I mean, first of all, again, what's with this fucking lighting? I mean, they clearly, they have, like, studio space here. They have spent a bit of money in putting this channel together, and it looks like, it looks like the fucking stage lights got turned off on them. My lighting setup is, like, literally a couple of practicals that just happen to be there, and the ring light on my $75 webcam. And there's more fucking definition than any of these guys get. Like, what the hell is this?
Listen, my shirt.
Like, they got an actual studio. They surely they could afford to turn a fucking fill light on, give these guys' heads some definition.
Says submissive women are sexy. Okay, so
yeah, it's true, man. It's true. Look, I think.
Okay, why are we only hearing from men on this particular subject? I mean, not that is not going to be the absolutely most edifying source we could possibly hear on the subject.
One of the most beautiful things about love is being able to fully take care of a woman in every way, whether that's emotionally, protecting, providing, everything about that. Like every fairy tale that was ever written for all of time.
I said Miami Vice earlier, but he's clearly Vanilla Ice.
Was about a man saving a woman from a castle and a dragon, right? Or some sort of scenario like that. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I have nothing against women being empowered. But I do feel like the happiest women in the world are the ones that look up to a man.
Oh, well, I'm so glad we have him here to tell us what women want.
And that he can fight every day to love her and love his kids and his family and provide and be that source of something to actually look up to. Like, I believe a woman can admire a man and it's very, very, very healthy. Am I saying that somebody that doesn't do that is not a man? No, I would never.
Okay, so a lot of what he's saying there actually is quite true. I object to sort of the dichotomy of the question. Let me begin with this. There is nothing that men dislike more as a general rule than dominating women. Women who seek to dominate men in the sense that they seek to...
That's kind of an interesting thing to say, considering so many women specifically pay for the privilege of being dominated by women.
Basically overwhelm them with the force of personality. I'm the ruler in this house. Men don't like that. They don't take to that particularly well. I don't think that the opposite of that the ideal is a woman who's like completely submissive in the sense that I think we think of it. Like, I will just take orders from my husband. I will do everything that he could possibly want of me. I will immediately acquiesce to all of his demands and have no opinions of my own. And that's not attractive either.
I really did not need to know what Ben Shapiro finds attractive.
What you want is a strong partner who also respects you.
There were just a few things that I disagree on. I think that in 2023 especially, I think women just want to be able to look to the side and see their partner as an equal.
Oh yeah, come on dudes, let's hear more about what women want.
And I think a lot of women now I don't think they're trying to be men. I think what they're realizing is that the qualities that they were looking for in men, they've always had it within themselves. If women are submissive, it's mostly for, I want to say, like, the validation for the man. I think they know in the back of their heads, like, they know now that they can do things on their own. I don't think they necessarily need a man, but I think what they're looking for is that intimacy to have.
Yeah, like, there's literally no acknowledgement that anyone who isn't, like, there's a bi guy here. We've got that. I mean, such as he is, and yet the whole thing is just kind of proceeding as if queer people basically didn't exist.
Have a partner, but I don't think that they require one.
So there's this bizarre idea that's cropped up in modern society because we have to crap on the past in order to make the present feel good, even though the present is significantly worse in terms of marriage and partnership than it was in the past. Just look at it! Yeah, well, what the heck is that?
Well, that is options.
The way we do this is we crap on mom and grandma. We pretend that mom and grandma were basically submissive in the kitchen and listening to everything that...
Well, you're the ones who these motherfuckers are the ones who say that and then idealize it.
That dad and grandpa were doing. And that basically they were just slaves. And it's not true at all. At all. Savvy, you were...
Well, I mean, admittedly, they had no legal autonomy. Admittedly, they weren't actually allowed to seek employment without their husband's permission. They couldn't get divorced, or they would most likely end up with fuck all. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the whole thing, right?
We're talking about, like, you know, granddaughter of Cuban immigrants. Let me ask you, in the house where you grew up, or your grandparents' house, did you feel like grandma was submissive?
Absolutely not.
100% not. Okay, and that's true in virtually all traditional cultures. Okay, a lot of traditional cultures, this notion that, like, men are...
Like, literally, the fucking evangelical Christians who help to fund this kind of crap specifically say that that is exactly what women are supposed to be doing. Like, explicitly say it. He's just
running roughshod over women. Women are barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, and men are just ignoring them.
Well, yeah, that is what you're trying to create. Like, I mean, if you're saying that that's not what you want, if you're going to present that negatively, then maybe don't act as if the results of letting women have some fucking options are so horrible. Like, I mean, you've got Steven Crowder, who went off on one just recently about how fucked up it is that women can get divorces without men's permission. And so, yeah, I think that there are some people... Yeah, that is literally what they mean by traditional. It's like he doesn't actually know what he himself means.
Just not true. It's not true at all. Everyone understands the power locus in the household typically lies inside the household, at least with regard to, like, day-to-day activities, actually with the woman.
I got children.
Like, literally by law, that has not been possible in... I mean, like, seriously, it's the 1970s is when women actually began to be able to even have a fucking credit card or a bank account in their own name without their husband's permission. I have business law textbooks from the time that actually discuss the importance of having written consent from the husband in order to make any kind of fucking deal with a woman who was married. So, I mean, it seems like redundant on a certain level, but yeah, he's talking out his ass.
I don't need somebody else to take care of. And I love your thing about, you know, the Prince Charming and everything. But you know what I need? I need a badass woman who can match my badass energy. I work with my wife. And I'm going to tell you, I take care of her, she takes care of me, and she's badass. And that's what I'm attracted to. I don't need a submissive that I have someone to take care of. And then it's fine. You know, if she goes through that, then I'll be there, and I will take care of her. But I'm not looking for somebody, another child to take care of and have to dominate and tell, you go over there. This is where we're going to go to dinner. This is where we're going to do that. No.
Okay, so, again, I think that people are making some semantic errors here.
Oh, we're gonna get educated now.
I think that the word submissive has a lot of connotations, and you're seeing the betas read submissive as exactly what I was talking about.
Isn't it like so?
Well, yes, they're reading the term as what it's generally used to mean.
Mission, you're under the same mission. I mean, ideally, if you're...
That is literally... What the fuck is that? No, it does not mean... It is not... Submission does not come from the combination of sub and mission. Like, that's what she just said.
Married, you have the same mission. It's not that complicated.
I mean, that's 100% true.
No, it's 100% not true. Look at all fucking dictionaries. You're the one who, like, freaks out because, like, over fucking pronouns being used in different ways. I mean, like, since very recently, in about, like, the 1300s, they started using they singularly in the English language, and he's still mad about it. And talks about, oh, we checked the fucking dictionary. Check the fucking... Look at a fucking etymological dictionary. This has nothing to do with anything.
Sadly. I mean, like, the goal of a marriage is the marriage. It's why the institution matters. It's why, for example, living together isn't marriage. The goal of a marriage is that you are oriented in the same direction. And so when both of you are pulling your oars in the same direction, the marriage is successful. And the direction is the preservation of marriage itself.
Wait, so the idea is that the goal of the marriage is to preserve the marriage? So the marriage is just sort of an end in itself.
You know, a lot of these girls, they usually go home and cry at night from being lonely, from not having a man. They have all these things, and then they're upset they don't have a man.
How the hell would you know if they're what they're doing when they're go home alone at night?
You know what I mean? And I heard you say that, women want to be the man's equal, but you don't see, and maybe this could just be a societal thing, a societal pressure, but you don't see women doing things that could make them equal to the men. You don't see the women approaching the men. You don't see the women paying for the dates. You don't see the women being more assertive.
Well, I mean, you don't.
To the man. You see what I'm saying? So
literally, of course we do. We see all of those things. In fact, that little fucking graph that he showed a second ago, that's kind of what that looks like.
Where's that at?
I mean, that's true. What women very often tell pollsters is not exactly what women want for men, right?
Yes, don't believe the evidence, believe Ben Shapiro.
This is the very online joke, right? Is that women pretend what they want is the beta, but what they actually want is the alpha. But in the
what was that? What the hell was that sound? Is the idea that his like temporomandibular joint is made up of like loose spoons?
Traditional motion: protect, defend, provide. Right? That's what actually women want. That's what they want. They've been told.
I'm glad that we have him to tell us
by society. They're not supposed to want that, and they're very unhappy as a result by every available metric.
That's actually completely bullshit. It's interesting. They have studies on health and happiness, like mental health and physical health outcomes, of single versus married men and single versus married women. And it turns out married men are both, they live longer and they're healthier, fewer mental health complaints, fewer physical health complaints. Overall, they're happier, they're healthier when they're married. And it is the exact reverse for women. Single women actually are the happier, healthier, longer-lived ones.
You see a high level of women on antidepressants more than ever, right?
Yeah, I mean, and mito comes from mettere, which, yeah, exactly, place, under, or, yeah, exactly. I mean, what they said is absolutely nonsense. I mean, what is true is that mission is the noun form of the verb that you get out of mito. But it does not. But that just means the act of putting something.
And I think that's a bunch of women trying to cope with trying to be like a man when really, let me ask you a question. Are you more attracted to a woman that has a high-paying job or to a woman's beauty?
That doesn't matter to me.
It does matter. It does matter to me.
Well, you asked him his opinion. He's saying it doesn't matter.
I mean, you could. But I would like to say a mother figure rather than a woman.
Okay, this guy. Okay, Vanilla Ice is sharing some interesting things. I didn't need to know.
Women, have a higher, have antidepressants, but men. I'm a social worker, so men 1 out of 10 are more likely to experience depression, but more likely to go undiagnosed and not seek therapy or help. So I do.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with this alpha male bullshit, where the idea is that there's something weak about actually going and seeking fucking medical and mental health assistance.
I think, and women also, you have to consider the fluctuation in hormones, pregnancy, because that can alter, their.
Yeah, and misio is just the noun form, like, I mean, and you see this in the rest of the, Romance languages as well. So, like, if you look at, say, in Spanish, for example, or Italian, submit is, in Spanish, someter, so, from sub, and meter, from mito. Sottomettere, or sommettere, in Italian, which again, sotto, sub, mettere, mito. And I mean, throughout, and that mission, when you have that mission, is just the noun form of mito, the like abstract noun form of it. Missione, mission.
Mental health. So I think that's kind of a moot point, but I feel like I'm not looking.
Wait, that's sexist. The guy talking about how men don't get the mental health assistance they really need. That's sexist. Out of the entire conversation, that's what fucking Ben Shapiro thinks is sexist.
For a mother figure, I'm looking for an equal. So I feel like with if we're saying that women, they're like going home crying, looking for men. I think it's also that societal pressure that tells you at the same time.
Okay, this guy, how did he get through their screening process? Because he's talking quite a bit of sense, even though it does look like the Cheshire Cat with like only a few bits of him left
You
because
have
of
to
this
have
fucking
multiple
lighting.
women. They're telling the women you have to have that one man, that husband, by a certain age, have kids by a certain age. There's more pressure on them than there is men.
Okay, so there is more pressure on women to get married than there is on men to get married. You know why? Because women have a thing called the biological clock.
That's literally not what he's talking about, and also, why is it now sounding like 60 minutes?
And that biological clock ticks. And then women can't have babies after a certain
Yeah, men also have a biological clock. Men's fucking sperm counts and sperm motility and all that stuff actually start going down as well.
point. Men can have babies until they are dead, basically.
Al Pacino.
Actually,
Right, exactly.
again,
Al
not true.
Pacino is still having babies. The idea that this is all social pressure related is ridiculous. Also, the notion that like we're in a society where there's more social pressure now than there was in the 1970s. So here's the problem. The correlation doesn't fit at all.
Oh, we're gonna get some statistics lessons now.
What you would imagine is that as societal pressure to get married and have kids went down in American society, female happiness would go up. Wrongo.
Well, it actually, yes. That's exactly what the fucking studies show. They show that since women have more options, in fact, there's a really interesting study, a longitudinal study that was done, like going back to, I think they started doing it in about the 50s and 60s. And the main question they were asking, they would ask girls and women, would you rather be a man? And what they found is that the number of respondents that they had, you know, who said yes, they would rather, they were not happy being female, actually went down over the ensuing decades. So yeah, actually.
Wrong.
Again, every social science survey shows the
Sí, exacto. Claro, si no quiere hijo. Bueno, estos hueones ni siquiera. Bueno, está hablando de cuestiones que estos hueones ni siquiera pueden tener en cuenta, po. Ni siquiera pueden tener en cuenta. Porque, bueno, harían estallar su cerebrito, weón.
Women are less satisfied today than they were in 1970.
That's not true. That's like literally the exact opposite of all of our available evidence. But he already said he doesn't take stock in the evidence. He takes stock in 6 guys who call themselves fucking alpha males talking about what women want.
If you and your wife...
And the one person who we've been told has a reason occupationally to maybe be more familiar with the facts on this situation is the one he's telling us to disregard.
I have like a conversation about a disagreement, and then you guys like a healthy conversation, and then she ends up being right in the situation. Would you consider her dominating me?
No, I consider her right.
So what's your definition of like dominant? Like you always have to be right? And
No, it's not about right and wrong. It's about
Well, yeah, but it kind of is.
who's running the show.
So by her being right, is that not her running?
No, that's just her being right in that conversation.
Yeah, a good leader would allow someone else to be right. A good leader doesn't have to be right. He wants the team to win. In fact, I'd call a man insecure if he wouldn't allow a woman to be right on the...
Yeah, I'd call a man insecure if they actually went on a show where the whole point was that he identified himself as alpha. I would call a man pretty fucking insecure based on that.
On subject, she was clearly...
I like that.
I do like that. And, you know, it goes back to the question of, like, what do you find more attractive? Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a
That's- that's
preference.
Where the
really-
fuck
it's a
did they
pref-
find
it's a
these
preference.
guys? Anyway.
Okay, I mean, it's, yeah, there's so much confusion here. So first of all, what I'd like to see is a poll of these men who has a successful, durable marriage, because you're talking about partnership and what all this means. And you can see...
It would be interesting to have a poll of the women in their lives as well. Of course, we've already been told we can't trust what women say in polls because it directly contradicts what Ben Shapiro wants us to believe.
Everybody is basically coming down on the same side, which is
Y por cierto,
marriage and
hola,
relationships
GM.
or negotiation. And even the guys who are like, I don't want a dominating women, they're like, yeah, well, if she's right, she's right. Well, that's, again, I think you're just misinterpreting the nature of these words.
That wouldn't exactly be the first time that this happened in this particular video.
I don't understand you. What do you want?
Yeah. So do you think they did a good job definition-wise of alpha and beta with these these people?
No, I think they did a bad job definition-wise in terms of alpha versus beta. Because again, I think you have to start. I don't think you can pull your way into are you an alpha or are you a beta without like a clear set of definable terms.
Now I am, however, quite curious about this Jubilee nonsense. I've never heard of it, and yeah, what do you think, chat? Would you be interested in throwing some Jubilee on the chud-lib rotisserie?
Well, folks, there are a lot of videos like this one on YouTube. If you'd like to see me break them down,
I wouldn't. I definitely would not. So, okay, that. Shit! I forgot to record. Oh. Okay, so. Well, as I said, I'm kind of intrigued by this Jubilee bullshit. What's everyone think, chat? Shall we have a look and see if there's anything... Oh, well, I mean, I was looking around. I found a few. We've got Dennis Prager's One Regret. We've got Xanderhole. Just noticed that fucking bullshit rapid onset gender dysphoria study got retracted over 3 years ago. He just noticed it. He's talking about it like it's big fucking news. So, I mean, there's that. Leftist media fire staff announces AI news articles from the Walking Glands, Timcast IRL. He really does look kind of like glands that somebody drew a little hat and a beard on. Or we could go over and check out this Jubilee nonsense. What's everyone think? Oh, we have also Landon Starbuck. Sounds like a fucking soap opera name. On how our children are being targeted, and that's why they need to target other people's children. Sí, claro que no quieren tener nada en cuenta salvo lo que quieran. Lo que quieran ellos. Okay. Oh, we've also Caleb Maupin on why memes about killing people are not funny, and Ricky Gervais on the stage with Richard Dawkins talking about the courage to be honest. Any strong feelings so far, chat? We got time. We could probably manage to get more than one of these in. Damn it. The new thing, you mean Jubilee? The like liberal hot mess with the bad lighting? Okay, I'm curious. Okay.
I'm in the gang.
I'm in the gang.
Can anyone become a millionaire? Yeah, this is teen millionaires arguing about can anyone become a millionaire. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? Okay. Find the virgin couple. 6 sober people versus 1 secret drunk person. That sounds like my university halls of residence orientation. Because I had visited somebody I'd been in touch with in town, and in honor of the occasion, he opened up a very expensive bottle of vodka that he'd been saving. And so, as they were talking about the stiff penalties that existed for any alcohol on campus, I was desperately trying not to look like I was shit-faced. Who can eat the spiciest food? That's easy. Me. Okay, ranking sneakerheads by shoe price. Male feminists versus female anti-feminists. Are men falling behind? Jesus, like... Six black men versus one secret white guy? What the hell? Okay, this is worse than I thought it was. How do spiritual leaders talk about sex? I guess it depends on whether they're on camera. If white men were 100% honest, that sounds bad. Male feminists versus anti-feminists on do women have it harder? Let's see. Oh, I see Amala from PragerU is on Team Transphobia in one of these debates. I'm a genius, ask me anything. If Christians were 100% honest, would they still be Christians? That's the question. Who's the most American? Assumptions versus... Oh, God. This is like... This is like fucking the lowest standard of content and I've seen today. And I actually had to look through the catalogs of Ben Shapiro, PragerU, Xanderhole, Caleb Muppet, and Voosh to come up with the collection that I already had. 6 queer people versus 1 liar. Reading last text from lost loved ones. That's not exploitative at all. The Jesus. Sí, claro. Si hay alguien cuya opinión quiero escuchar, más que nadie, es un weón que se cree genio. Trans men versus reactionary asshole men on is masculinity disappearing? Like, this is like the logical progression of the Jerry Springer format. Can sex workers and virgins see eye to eye? Probably on some things. That's such a weird question to ask. Ranking drunk people. Who is the Disney hater? Like, Jesus. Is scissoring real? Lesbians answer. Holy shit. Can the Army and the Marines see eye to eye? Well, probably on imperialism. They both seem to like that a lot. Okay. Is anyone keen on actually watching any of this? This is like... I don't know if somebody, if chat, if you see anything and you would really like to see me react to it, don't be a stranger. Let me know. I'm just looking at it. I'm just cringing at the fucking titles. The truth about being pregnant. Oh, this fucking clickbait. Pro-vax versus vaccine hesitant. They can't even say anti-vax. Yeah, let's not say that. See, that's where I am. This is like painful even looking at the. It's painful just looking at the titles of this thing. Let's see what else we've got. Loner box on 4chan and how he was almost radicalized. That sounds shitty. Kathleen Stock's reasoned critique of gender ideology on the Ayn Rand Institute. Chris Elise, I'm a pro sports photographer. Wokeism is ruining sports. Haz asks, are you a bigot? Well, I mean, if you're watching Haz, I'm gonna say there's probably a better than average chance that yes. Oh, traitors in our government with Xanderhole. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I haven't done Xanderhole in a little bit. We're gonna look at traitors in our government. And I have to say, I can already tell you, not even knowing necessarily what he's gonna be talking about here, that it's like it's gonna be stolen valor by proxy. Because the people who are getting called traitors lately, I mean, no, they aren't. They are about as true to this piece of shit regime as you possibly could be. And that is not a good thing.
I want to talk about something that's a little bit grim. You know, just something that should really make you feel afraid for the state of American politics and the state...
Is there anything that wouldn't make you feel that way at the moment, though? That's the real question. Seriously, is there anything that wouldn't make you feel grim about the state of, the political class in this country?
State of the American people as a whole. All of us remember January 6th, the insurrection attempt on the capital of our beloved United States, the greatest country in the whole world. It was, of course, a failed...
Even Xanderhole's got a more convincing beard than Ben Shapiro.
...insurrection, and yet somehow the American right was able to get away with it. Because that's what it is at the end of the day, right? Just every single time, you know, the right doing some horrific shit, and...
I think he's being sarcastic and at the same time not. Because the premise here is that, that betraying this state would be a bad thing, apparently.
Then finding the most insane ways to, separate themselves from that insane shit that inevitably was the result of their actions. And then, all the centrists just keep on telling the left they're crazy for calling a spade a spade. It really is a fun cycle, isn't it? Just constantly getting DreamWorks faced every single day by...
Okay, somebody in chat needs to enlighten me. What the hell does it mean to get DreamWorks faced?
Liars. Regardless, though, January 6th happens, And, the right has tried to sweep it under the rug. But now, enough time has passed that they're just like, you know what? Fuck it. It's a point of pride. It's a point of pride.
I mean, and the thing is, and that is like already the most ridiculous thing ever, because it was a fucking... I mean, what January 6th was the U.S.-backed coup in Bolivia if it were reenacted by Laurel and Hardy. I mean, that's what that was. It was that as comedy. It was absolutely just a complete fucking...
And we're gonna lie about how bad it was. It was a peaceful protest of patriots. And one of the people pushing this idea is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now,
so the people pushing the peaceful protest by patriots. How many fucking... Are we gonna keep on with the alliteration here?
Before we watch this speech segment...
the peaceful patriotic protest people pushing.
Where she says this. I want to tell you guys what American politics is like. So
you fasten your seatbelts. We're about to get educated some more.
I think a lot of people who are American just kind of believe the government is this very rigid, unchangeable thing, right? And no matter how radical somebody comes into politics, left or right, the rock tumbler that is politics...
Well, no, not left or right. There is a very specific preference.
Politics will smooth them out into a more establishment politician eventually, and they will have no ability to pull the Overton window of American politics in anywhere too good or anywhere too bad.
Well, it is certainly true. They're not going to pull the Overton window of politics to anywhere too good. But that's because we live in a capitalist system. Like, God,
right?
Read a fucking book.
It can't happen here. Right? Like, there couldn't be a Nazi like, if a bunch of Nazis...
Yeah, I mean, in a country that was founded on slavery and genocide, and that was actually the inspiration for Hitler, yeah, there couldn't possibly be any kind of Nazi shit going on here.
Nazis decide they want to try to take over America. They couldn't do it, because there's just such a system of checks and balances in place. There's just so many hard rules and just guys with gavels in the way. It just, pieces of paper that say you can't do this or that. It just really seems like we can rest easy knowing it's just not possible for it to happen here,
And the thing is, what's particularly ridiculous about the whole thing is the idea that what these pricks actually needed to go and try to intimidate people into changing, the election result in Congress in order to get their way. They were going to get their way. Fucking Joe Biden was already going to be giving them their way. That's what he's done for 50 years. I mean, this is the guy who spent much of his fucking interminable political career campaigning on how he was a true conservative, for fuck's sake. Like, they did not need to do any of that. They were already going to get what they wanted. They're getting what they wanted right now. Like, the Democrats fucking won. They had a majority in both houses and the White House. And these motherfuckers are still getting what they want because Democrats, in the United States political system, the ruling class are represented by two separate yet equally important groups. The Republicans, who make everything worse, and the Democrats, who refuse to make anything better. These are their stories.
But it can. Those pieces of paper at the end of the day really don't mean shit. Like, the pieces of paper...
Okay, not completely unironically, he's not wrong here.
Paper only means shit because people with lots of money, guns, and resources believe in those pieces of paper.
And that means that those things only mean shit to the extent that they are in the interest of those people with money. I mean, if you want to know just how much a constitution is worth, look up Chile, September 11th, 1973, and see how quickly that constitution just kind of evaporated when it was convenient.
If people who are able to come along and take over the guns, money, and resources, they can burn that piece of paper.
Well, or if the people who already have the guns, money, and resources find that it is more consistent with their holding on to the guns, money, and resources to just set light to that piece of paper, then they'll just do that as well. And we've seen plenty of that, here and elsewhere in the world.
It doesn't mean shit. They can kill the people with the gavels and the strict walls of...
They don't need to, though. I mean, in this country where there's this weird cult of the legal system that coexists at the same time with, like, utterly record levels of distrust of the legal system. There's this idea that you'd have to, like, put a gun to judges' heads for them to do anything that, you know, to do anything illegal that the government wanted them to do. And it's like, no, that's not how this ever works. Like, for example, when Hitler took over in Germany, the judges, for the most part, apart from the Jewish ones, which there were hardly any in the first place, because the whole system was set up to make sure that Jews and leftists could not actually get those positions. Most of them got to stay on, because most of them were already on side to begin with, and had in fact really paved the way for the Nazis to take over. Like, and you look at case after case, you'll find the judges, the judiciary, is usually the area of, you know, the state apparatus that has the least personnel turnover, because they basically just they turn over on their own.
Supposed regimentation that is our bureaucratic government that they assume keeps radicalism from having any real impact. No, they can't, Zan. Blasphemy.
Well, I mean, it does keep the good kind of radicalism from having any kind of impact.
Of course not. Of course it can't happen here. Regardless, though, it almost did on January 6th. It failed, but they tried.
Yeah, I mean, it failed because most of the institutions with the money, guns, and resources decided that maybe this was a bad thing. And so the only actually institutional backing that they had even a little bit of was the DC Metro Police and some of the Capitol cops. Like, they didn't have the army, they didn't have the feds, they didn't have the fucking National Guard, they didn't have any of the people they would have needed in order for that actually to work. Which is why it was just a fucking laughing stock where one guy killed himself by tasing himself in the balls or something like that, as opposed to what happened in Bolivia, where a very similar thing, a very similar coup occurred, but it did actually have that institutional backing. I mean, because the thing is that when you get down to it, the difference, and this isn't just something you see in the U.S. This is what you're seeing also in Latin America and a lot of places. There's the realization amongst the ruling class that if you have the outright reactionaries running things, people freak out. They scare people, and people become active and get involved, and start resisting. Governability starts to take a shit. And so what you get is this realization that, I mean, if you want to maintain governability and at the same time protect the interests of the ruling class, which very much hinge on maintaining governability, then what you want is the useless centrist liberal dickhead who is going to end up basically doing, the ruling class's bidding. They're not going to do anything that is really going to rock the boat. But they will calm down liberals. They won't calm down the people who already have realized, have already departed from the official ideology, have already departed from liberalism entirely. But the thing is, but the degree to which those people can have any effect on anything depends entirely on whether liberals feel that this is a time for them to be having brunch or a time for them to be getting active. And so what we've got is a lot of examples in Latin America and here of brunch presidents winning. Like Boric in Chile is a brunch president. Totally. Petro in Colombia, also a brunch president. Fucking, like, Lula as well, very much a brunch president. All of them totally okay with neoliberalism, none of them even remotely radical. But, you know, basically, they are, as, La Mano de Filippi put it in one of their songs, el presidente es el tipo que mantenga más tranquila a nuestra gente. The person who keeps our people the calmest. Yeah, I mean, the beer hall putsch had a plan, and there was also judicial support. Have you read the opinion of the court that tried Hitler after the putsch? I mean, it was like they were fucking coming in their pants over him.
And that's what's important. They're trying. It's possible. It can happen if they try enough and the right conditions are met. And they're trying. With that said, I want you guys to know that and have that information in mind when we watch this speech given, I don't even fucking know where. What event was this? I'm sure some of you in chat know. This is the Hitler's National Hall for
the New York Young Republican Club, apparently. Isn't that where Proud Boys stabbed a bunch of people a few years back and leading Gavin McInnes to snitch on them?
For Jewish exposing, I guess, is the name of this location. You know, where they got together. New York Young Republicans, same thing. No need to repeat what I said, chat. Yeah, so that's where she's speaking, and let's go ahead and hear what she has to say about January 6th.
What gets you, it's like, all the fucking hand-wringing, but the Congress is so sacred. It's like, the only thing wrong with any of that was that it was fucking Fash doing it. There are plenty of reasons that it would be entirely appropriate to have a massive protest, a disruptive protest in and around this and many other legislative bodies. I mean, look, just speaking of bodies, you just look at the fucking excess mortality due to the give everybody COVID policy, for example. I mean, there are plenty of good reasons to do. The only thing, so, like, all this fucking hand-wringing and pro-clutching about, they broke into Nancy Pelosi's office. I don't give a shit.
I really appreciate Dawn talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. I have a copy of it in my office, and I don't want to see one nasty page of what he likes to do in the bedroom.
Then why do you have a copy of it in your office?
Did she just admit that she's looked at Hunter Biden's cock? She's just admitted that she personally...
That's what we care about.
Of course this is a lie, but for the sake of lying, she is telling the world that at least she's telling me, she has Hunter Biden's laptop and looks at his cock. Thank you, MTG. Very cool.
I do not need to, like, hear about any Biden's cock, to be honest.
And I don't care how much drugs he snorted or shot up or whatever he did, but I will tell you something I find really interesting is his bank accounts.
Remember, by the way, score...
I mean, and the thing, it's such a fucking non-story. Yes, wow, it turns out the political class is full of fucking financial conflicts of interest, and they're all feathering their fucking nests. Like, I mean, yeah, that's bipartisan. Yeah, the Democrats do it just as well as the Republicans do. It's like, it's a fucking non-story.
Born towards the left is a virtue among the right, okay? The right doesn't necessarily have a strong, cohesive, moral set of political positions or social beliefs.
I would say they have a number of them. I mean, authoritarianism, white supremacism, capitalism. I mean, they're for all that stuff. There's some, there are edge cases where they disagree. I mean, but you can bring it down to a pretty clear pretty clear collection of core beliefs that they all share.
They have enemies. What is good to them is what is bad for the left or minorities.
See, this is already a bit silly, because right-wingers in the U.S. have absolutely, the way they talk about the left, they don't even know what the fucking left is. You know, they'll call Joe Biden an extreme leftist. I mean, the guy who said that if is said in the middle of a fucking pandemic that still has yet to end, that if, as president, universal healthcare legislation ended up on his desk having been passed by both houses of Congress, he would veto it. Yeah, but they call him an extreme leftist. I mean, the term is absolutely meaningless in their mouths.
That is why they speak with such scorn towards their enemy. You know, when you watch a left-wing...
It's unusual that they scorn their enemies. Other people don't have scorn for their enemies. I mean, like, I have scorn for them. I mean, I find them all terribly unimpressive. It's part of why I consider them my adversaries, actually, is that they suck. I don't think that is the unique selling point of the right in the U.S., that they don't like their enemies. I think that's kind of how that works with enemies.
Political figure talk about the right, they don't talk about the right in the same way the right talks about the left, right? When the right talks about the left, they're bad people, they're sheeple, they're to be mocked and ridiculed. But when, like, Biden goes on stage to talk...
Well, he's not the left. And when he's talking about the right, he's talking about the people that he's had the closest and friendliest professional working relationships with in all his time as a fucking politician in Washington, as a senator and later as president. I mean, this is the guy who was tight with fucking Trent Lott and Strom Thurmond and Jesse Helms and the rest of the fucking apartheid caucus in there. Like, of course he does not speak contemptuously of the right. He is one of them.
Talk about Republicans. It's like, oh, they're good people. They're Americans who've been, led astray. It's like, you only really need to look at who's willing to be just upfront. Don't believe people when they tell you who they are. And the right tells you who they are when they take every opportunity to be as cruel and bigoted as possible.
Well, I mean, it's almost as if maybe cruelty and bigotry are principles that they uphold. Maybe there's a lot more cohesiveness to their worldview than you seem to think, Zan.
I'm very interested in those, and I cannot wait.
I mean, if anyone keeping track, if anyone's playing Xanderhole bingo, that was him calling Joe Biden part of the left.
Serve with Jamie Comer on the Oversight Committee and go after it. Because I'll tell you right now, what it leads to is 10% for the big guy. Okay? And I think I've introduced like 7 or 8, or I don't know where I'm at now, articles of impeachment on Joe Biden over the past 2 years.
Because this is wonderful. Now impeachment is just something that everybody pretends to do.
She's literally been, she's not on any committees, right? Like, she's been kicked off of all of her committees. Like, she's literally disgraced as far as Republicans go. She just kind of has this, culty QAnon fan base. Like, this is not a woman who has any actual power in the Republican Party, even.
Well, then why has she got this fucking podium at the New York Young Republican Club? That kind of, I mean, not to mention her elected office. That sounds like maybe she is not actually all that scorned by the Republicans. That sounds actually like they're kind of happy with her.
She's, especially since the whole, switch to DeSantis, she's basically been, disgraced, even among many Republicans, believe it or not.
I don't, and we're looking at evidence that she really isn't. Now, it's true that there will probably be some Republicans who sort of pretend that because, the Democrats have actually helped set this shit up, this particular grift by Republicans, where you have the Republicans who say, oh, Trump, That's really unseemly, all the stuff that he did. We don't really like his way of doing things. We like all the stuff he did. We didn't like the way he did it. And that's why we registered our objections to what he was doing literally at the last possible moment when it was obviously a good career move to do so. And Democrats are like, see, these are the good Republicans. These are the ones we need to strengthen in order to make our country great. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's such a fucking grift.
And while I don't want to impeach a president for political reasons, I definitely think Joe Biden should be impeached.
Wow, I know, I'm shocked. Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't like the fact that a member of the nominally opposing party is president.
Not just because of the evidence on his son's laptop linking them to China and other places.
He should be impeached because of the evidence on his son's laptop linking them to China and other places.
And this is a great example of what a wonderful moment we're in. Because what you have in the past several years is you have the Democrats absolutely fixated on Russia, the Republicans fixated on China, and the whole thing is like, who should we antagonize more? And they fight over who we should antagonize more and shit. Mostly just for like domestic political gain, not even really because nothing is necessarily going to come of it. Nobody's going to seriously do anything to antagonize China because they'd also be antagonizing Wall Street. Like literally, if you even assuming it were actually possible to effectively sanction China given China's position in the world economy, I mean, you'd be sanctioning Wall Street, and I think Wall Street might have a few views on that. So that shit's not happening. So it's all it is just fucking shadow boxing that just happens to increase tensions with other countries with substantial WMD arsenals. I mean, it's a wonderful moment we're living through. Yeah, impeachment is politically, I mean, it is an entirely political thing. Except that there's this weird idea that so many people have, liberals in particular have, that actually it's the sacred duty and people are going to vote their consciences. And I mean, like, I was hearing this sort of stuff all through the Trump impeachments. It's like, you know that there's no way this is ever going to happen. No, people will vote their conscience. No, they're not. That's not how any of this works. They don't have them. How are they going to vote consciences? They haven't even fucking got them.
By the way, the laptop shit is just, there's nothing. There's
That's actually also not true. It's just that there's nothing that isn't also true of basically everyone in the political class. I mean, they're all somehow getting some kind of fucking kickbacks of some kind. They're all abusing their office. They all have financial conflicts of interest. That's why there's basically no serious prosecution of this stuff, because it's mutually assured destruction. Everybody is doing this. I mean, we have a fucking legal system that says that it's actually totally legal for politicians to be on the take as long as they're very careful not to have an explicit quid pro quo, for fuck's sake. And yeah, I mean, it's all just completely, I mean, it's just pure hypocrisy. I mean, it's just pointless to even point that out, because I think they actually know that. I do not seriously believe that most of them are unaware of the contradictions in their ideas.
I looked into it, because I was like, okay, there's got to be something, right? There's got to be something, right? It's just Hunter's cock and balls. It's just
and a bunch of dodgy
Hunter's
emails that have been the authenticity of which has been verified. But the thing is, it's all very much par for the course for these circles that we're talking about, which is why nobody's getting all that upset about it, except on the other side where they think they can score political points with it.
Cock and balls. That's what made it end up getting attention. and then they just started like trying to make up other shit to justify it having.
Yeah, I mean, like the Hunter Biden laptop is to domestic politics what sort of Xinjiang is to U.S. International politics. I mean, the U.S. suddenly decided to shine a spotlight on what China was doing in Xinjiang right around the time that the entire world was talking about the concentration camps in the U.S. And all of a sudden it's like, no, let's talk about somebody else's. And, I mean, it's the same shit with the Hunter Biden laptop. You know, everybody has been talking for years now about all the corrupt shit that Donald Trump is involved in, and so the Republicans do the same thing, and they say, yeah, but look at this, look over here, Hunter Biden's also involved in some corrupt shit. And it's like, except they don't say also because they pretend that everybody doesn't already know that their guy is involved in all sorts of shonky bullshit in the first place.
Attention other than Hunter's cock and balls.
Yeah, keep
Hunter
saying
Biden.
that, please.
Like
I need to hear that more.
These people will literally scream and piss and shit themselves if you get into the Trump family collusion with Russia. So let's, you know, they're very much hypocrites. You know, you go high, they go low.
But he deserves to be impeached. Why? Because our border is under invasion and he doesn't care.
He's literally doing the same shit Trump was doing. He has actually intensified the atrocities at the border.
He also deserves to be impeached because he's selling out our strategic petroleum reserves, doesn't he?
What is this? What? Okay, so that literally was her getting paid by an oil company. That was the oil company that she's getting paid by talking right there, tapping into draining our oil reserves. Guys, I don't know if you're aware, there is enough, like, fossil fuel oil on Earth.
What is fossil fuel oil as opposed to what, olive oil?
For us to harvest quite easily, by the way, through fracking, particularly, that we are not going to run out anytime soon. We export a massive amount of oil. The only reason why oil prices are high right now, the only reason why oil prices tend to be so high during Democrat presidencies is because guess what? Oil companies can literally just set the prices to whatever the fuck they want.
Also, U.S. foreign policy in, like, the region where a lot of the oil is from is entirely geared towards helping the oil industry justify scaring up their prices. The whole idea is to give them all sorts of excuses for why production is slow, because everybody knows the real profit is in keeping the shit in the ground and only letting it trickle out and then saying, oh, well, there's just not a whole lot of it available, is there? And, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, this idea, the oil companies are not unhappy that Joe Biden is in office. Joe Biden is, like, was bragging a few months ago in the middle of this climate disaster about having broken records for fossil fuel extraction in the U.S. and talking about how Trump never even came close. And it's like, well, so he's like literally making the argument that Trump is the environmental president of the two of them. Which, I mean, if you're that environmentally disastrous, that really says something, because he was I mean...
And guess what? Republican president equals good for them. Democrat president equals...
Except this is such bullshit. The first time... Well, I mean, I don't think he's old enough to remember this. The first time I remember fuel prices in this country at the pump going up above $3 was under George W. Bush, when he decided to set the entire Middle East on fire. That was the first time ever. The prices actually have never really gone down... have never really recovered the previous levels after that. Not for any sustained amount of time. It's been more the whole time, and of course inflation plays a role in that. But I mean, this was a liberal meme going around a while back claiming this, but the minute you actually look at prices and who was president at the time, it turns out actually it's more complicated than that, and it has a lot to do with what's going on in the place that has the most oil.
It's bad for them. So when there's a Democrat president, the gas prices are higher. That's just
not
how it is.
No,
That's
it
not like
actually
because
isn't.
of any good reason. It's just because we don't like that there's a Democrat in office, so we're going to punish the entire American population who drives or requires gas.
Like,
This
seriously,
sounds like
look
a
at the
conspiracy.
graph.
It's not. This is
So the oil industry hated George W. The idea is that the oil industry hated George W. Bush then too. I mean, this is like that ridiculous meme. That cartoon. It was making fun of this ridiculous idea, where it's like two pictures. There's like the president, what I actually do, and it's like filling out documents and shit, and what people think I do, and it's like there's two levers on the desk, and one is gas prices, and the other is the stock market. You know. And what he's doing is sort of a slightly more sophisticated version of the idea that that's all that's going on with oil prices, and it's bullshit. I mean, the thing, U.S. foreign policy is all about affecting oil prices.
It's literally public. Wait, you guys think this is a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it's inaccurate. Because it doesn't account for the fact that prices shot way the fuck up under George W. Bush.
Wait, holy shit.
Or do you count that as a Democratic administration because Gore actually won that election?
Fact. Across the country, gas prices are climbing to record-setting numbers, putting consumers in a bit of a pinch when it comes to their daily commute.
Yeah, now what you said was actually over a longer period of time across various administrations. So why don't you look at what's happened over, say, I don't know, the past 25 years. Let's make it the past 25 years. See what the oil prices were doing.
As prices have crept up, politicians have been quick to point fingers. Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, in a March 18, 2022 tweet about the burden the high prices were placing on trucks.
I like this idea that oil companies aren't doing it for profit. Apparently, it's all just about the fact that they personally dislike Democrats for no apparent reason, because Democrats aren't really actually doing anything to harm them.
Truck drivers blame the astronomical gas prices on the Democrats' war on fossil fuels. But is that true?
Well, no, because there's no war on fossil fuels. Like, their signature piece of, like, fake climate legislation tied any kind of renewables installations to authorizing more fossil fuel extraction, for fuck's sake. There is no war on fossil fuels. I mean, it's like the defunding of the police that the media talk about as if it actually happened, but didn't happen anywhere in this country.
Have policies instituted by Democrats in recent years caused gas prices to skyrocket? Is there another reason? Let's take a look. Coronavirus, Russian invasion of Ukraine playing major role in prices. That's valid reasons that are happening right now. But there have been other factors as well. One of the biggest, the coronavirus pandemic. The report notes that during the early months of the pandemic, when people were largely confined to their homes in hopes of limiting the spread of the virus, gas prices plummeted.
Yeah, because people weren't driving.
There was more gasoline available than consumers looking to buy it, so producers of gasoline started decreasing output. As those restrictions have
he's just basically debunking himself in real time right now.
Loosened and life has returned to normal, demand for gas has gone up, the report said, with demand now outpacing the limited supply of gas. That's not an issue anymore. It's literally been years now. Supply and demand are largely out of Biden's control, but the administration hasn't exactly been sending positive signals to the oil and gas industry by pushing for reduced emissions and other...
But they're not pushing for reduced emissions. I mean, yes, they will occasionally say, sometime in the next millennium it would be nice if the emissions went down, but they're not doing anything on the level of policy. I mean, when they say 2035, I think, is the supposed commitment. Anytime the commitment for an outcome is like 3 administrations from away from the administration that made the commitment, that's not a commitment. Because that means that every single administration after that can just kind of rescind it. And with that, it is time to wrap up for tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined. I hope you enjoyed the new selection of bullshit that we looked at today. And If you enjoy the stream, please consider paying for the stream, especially through the tip command, which also goes towards the Alexandra Thai translation that I'm working on now. So I always am very happy and thankful to all my supporters and everyone who shows up in chat and makes this an interesting hour for me as well. So have a good night, and I'll see you on Friday.